Okay, so now we've gotten to the point where we're deployed all the way through. We're in production. And you know what? Whether we have designated people for operating the production environment, or whether we have a smooth rotation in the development and the engineering team of a person, go on rotation of who kind of operates production and make sure everything right. Octopus Deploy has some really good capabilities for that, and it's called Runbooks. And so I'm going to switch back over, and we're just going to show the highlights of those capabilities.
So yeah, Runbooks is Octopus Deploy's answer to people who are creating projects solely to do one-off or maintenance tasks. Before Runbooks were introduced, there were projects that had like create database backups. You see here and restore database backups, and clean up database logs, rotate keys. I've seen lots of different things that are like one-off tasks that's not part of putting artifacts on a box. It's maintaining those artifacts or maintaining connectivity or something along those lines. And so these runbooks was Octopus Deploy's solution for that, and they put them separately, but inside this project, because a lot of times when you're doing a deployment or you're trying to do maintenance on a database, different projects will have different database connection strings based off of database names for those projects or different types of users or permissions. And for least access things, you want different database passwords for different things accessing your databases. So you can, instead of having to copy database or copy passwords and usernames across multiple projects, you can use those same variables you use to deploy your database to maintain your database for creating these backups and restoring these backups. They using those same passwords, using those same variables allows you to just reduce clutter and reduce chances of errors happening by using the wrong variables. And even then, taking one step further, if you have tenant deployments, you can then have the different tenant variable values pulled out as well to use against these use for these runbooks. And if we're trying to then take that one step further, we now have our backups and restore processes defined, well-defined, and running smoothly. Now we can start going into automated backups. Where Azure and other things have their ways of doing those automated backups, you may want something for your own peace of mind to run these tasks on their own schedule. And so you have your deployment triggers for your processes for new deployments, but you also have triggers that you can do to set up for running backups. One we have here is created to do a backup every day at 9 a.m. And this will be the server's time. If you're doing, what is it? If you have your own on-premise installation of Octopus Deploy, that's where thing gets importance of knowing this time that the server's running on. So that's Runbooks in general.
Now, raise up and think, okay, I see how Runbooks works, but why do I really need it? I can just, especially if you're using Azure or even AWS or anything, I know how to do a backup. Why don't I just do it in the Azure portal? It's just, I set it, it's scheduled, I need to remember to go and verify that there's a backup. Or from time to time, we all need to go and verify that the backups aren't corrupted. We need to go and get a backup and restore it on some type of environment, make sure our backups actually restore. There's a whole list of things that if we're going to properly operate a production environment, we know that we need to do these things on a particular schedule in order to maintain it. Every piece of business machinery has a maintenance schedule, from a bus, a truck, a tractor, even a little taxi car. Every piece of machinery, every piece of equipment has some type of maintenance schedule where, yeah, you may be able to skate by and ignore maintenance for a little bit, but if you choose to just not do maintenance, your machinery, your equipment will break down and surprise you at some point. And production environments are no different than a piece of business machinery. If you ignore maintenance, it will surprise you at some point and break down, and then it'll be an emergency for everybody. So we all know that we need to do proper maintenance on our production environment. And some of the things are so rote and it's the same every time. And especially with modern environments, they're so easy to automate. And oftentimes we have automated. We have little helper scripts that we just do. We just kind of kick them off ourselves. That's where Runbooks comes in. Now, it's not just that you can automate. And if you only have one application and you're a team of 2 people, and that's all that you even have in your whole company, you may be thinking, what's the point? I don't have a big tension. But now extrapolate it out. That's not most teams. And the people on this call, you have multiple applications and you have the database of one over here, maybe Azure SQL, the database of another on a different type of environment, database of another here. Oh, this other application not only has a database, but it also has queues that oftentimes back up and sit for a while. Well, guess what? That's data. And if you lost it, it's a problem. Oh, and another application has a directory, whether it's blob storage or whether it's a network share on a server, a directory of PDF files that it stores. Well, guess what? That's data. Any type of data needs to be backed up. And so Runbooks allows us to raise up our thinking and say, you know what? I need to perform backups, and I need to verify the data that is backed up on some type of schedule. And then I have all these different applications that I need to do that for. And the implementation of each different application, each different production environment, it's a little bit different, but I'm still doing the same thing. I'm backing up and I'm verifying a backup. And so Runbooks allows us to declare for ourselves and keep track and kick off the automation of doing that task, even though the implementation of doing that task is different in some way in every application's production environment. So you can imagine it for your own situation, but if you already are tripping over multiple production environments, then you already know the tension. So we don't have to sell you this. It's hugely useful.
And on top of that, not just maintenance, but let's talk about onboarding new customers. If you're running a SaaS platform and you now need to spin up a whole new customer environment, that's not new artifact production. That's spinning up VMs, that's spinning up whatever you need, whatever infrastructure you need. And that can be offloaded to a runbook where you don't have to remember, what do I need for a new customer? What database do I need? What VMs I need? You can offload that to a runbook. And then for runbooks, you don't have to have the developers or ops team run that. If you have a support team dedicated to helping customers as they come on board or any errors they have, you can offload some of that work to that team. Now, they don't have permission. You can then restrict their permissions where they can't deploy new artifacts. They can't change your production deployment process, but they can run some support jobs to maybe collect customer data. If there's an error that a customer is having, they can run a runbook and collect the logs from a database. Or they can run a runbook to spin up or spin down a new customer. So those are some other things, not just maintenance, but in the sense of data, but just working with runbooks and customers in the field.